Welcome to the place where the light dares not enter. Here shadows crawl, whispers breathe down your neck, and the darkness watches you even when your eyes are closed. Every story told here is not just a tale, it is a door that creaks open, leading you into nightmares that don't end when you wake. If you hear your name whispered in the silence, if you feel the cold breath on your skin as you listen, don't look around. Don't turn back, because once you've entered, there is no way out. Now, let the story begin. A pinch of death. The wind howled like a restless spirit that Halloween night, rushing through the skeletal trees that leaned toward the crumbling mansion at the end of Ashwick Lane. Clouds swallowed the moon whole, letting the night press in like a suffocating veil. The rusted iron gates of the mansion stood chained and padlocked, yet their menace was not in their iron, but in the silence that clung to them, as though the gates themselves were guardians of something that should never again be disturbed. Most of the kids from Dakota's school only dared each other to touch those gates, maybe knock against the weather-rotted wood of the door before sprinting away, laughing nervously. But Dakota was different. He wasn't content with fleeting brushes against mystery. His nights were filled with YouTube explorers scaling rooftops, creeping through forgotten hospitals, and documenting the shadows of abandoned asylums. His heart yearned for that same rush, for proof that fear could be conquered, that the dead could be defied. So tonight, Dakota climbed the gate. Rust scraped his palms and the chains rattled like a warning bell, but he didn't look back. His sneakers thudded softly against the overgrown path, weeds tugging at his ankles as if begging him to turn away. He grinned, exhilarated. This was easy. Too easy. The front door loomed, its wood blackened by rot, its hinges whispering tales of long disuse. He pressed the handle, and to his surprise, it yielded without resistance. The mansion exhaled a slow, cold breath as the door swung inward, and Dakota stepped across the threshold. Inside, time itself seemed to have bled away. Dust clung to every surface, cobwebs draped from corners like funeral veils. The wallpaper had yellowed and peeled, curling like dead leaves. Portraits hung askew, their subjects' faces scratched away as though by unseen claws. Trinkets lay broken, fragments of once cherished lives abandoned to decay. Dakota's flashlight beam trembled as it swept across the hall. He told himself it was just excitement, but his hand knew the truth. It was fear. A sudden noise cracked the silence. Footsteps, far away then closer. A door slammed somewhere in the depths of the house. Dakota froze, breath snagging in his throat. He swallowed hard, just the house settling. He muttered, his voice too loud, bouncing back at him like a stranger's. But then came the laughter. It started faint, drifting like smoke, curling through the halls. Childlike, innocent at first, until the notes bent wrong, sour and distorted. It wasn't laughter that belonged to any child he'd ever known. It was laughter twisted by something old, something cruel. Dakota's pulse quickened. He backed toward the exit, but the laughter followed. Louder this time, closer. An icy draft brushed his cheek, raising gooseflesh along his arms. His eyes darted to the hallway. A shadow, a small figure, darted past, vanishing into the dark. Every instinct screamed for him to run. Yet something stronger, some dangerous mix of curiosity and defiance, tugged him forward. He stepped into the narrow corridor, heart hammering against his ribs, following the laughter that now seemed to beckon him. The sound led him to a door at the far end. Its handle rattled beneath his grip, locked tight. He pressed his shoulder into the wood, and with a groan it gave way. The room inside was different. Where the rest of the mansion bore scars of neglect, this chamber was preserved, untouched by time. The wallpaper here still glowed faintly gold, the furniture polished, the air unnervingly still. Dakota felt the hairs on his neck rise as the door closed softly behind him, locking with a click. He was trapped. The laughter exploded around him, no longer distant but all-encompassing. He clamped his hands over his ears, but the sound pierced through, echoing inside his skull. Shapes flickered in his vision. When he blinked, they became clearer. Ghostly children, their forms translucent, their eyes hollow yet burning with an anguish beyond words. They showed him visions. The room filled with spectral light as the past unfolded before his eyes. A grand party, dancing, laughter, children weaving between adults dressed in finery. Then, in the kitchen, a man with eyes of contempt stirring something into cups of gleaming crystal. He handed them off, smiling falsely. Minutes later, chaos. Screams, parents cradling limp bodies, children writhing on the floor as poison claimed their breath. Dakota staggered back, bile rising in his throat. The children's faces twisted with sorrow, then rage, their gazes fixed on him. "What do you want from me?" His voice cracked, swallowed by the cacophony. "I didn't do this." But the ghosts didn't answer. They only stared, as if silently asking a question he couldn't comprehend. Revenge? Release? Justice? Panic crawled through his chest. His eyes darted to the window. It was open, moonlight spilling in like salvation. If he could just reach it. A child's finger lifted, pointing at him. Its mouth opened wide, unleashing a scream so piercing it shattered the stillness. The window slammed shut, sealing his escape. One by one, the other children turned their hollow eyes on him. "Shit," Dakota whispered, stumbling back. He grabbed the doorknob, twisting desperately. To his shock, it turned. The door flew open, and he bolted into the hallway. But the house wasn't done with him. A sound slithered from the walls, a grotesque crawling as if something burrowed through the plaster itself. The children vanished, their laughter cut short. Dakota's chest tightened. If they feared this thing, then what could it be? He ran. The hall stretched endlessly, every shadow watching, every floorboard groaning underfoot. His breath came ragged, his mind screaming at him to escape. Then the floor gave way. The world flipped, boards splintering beneath him. He fell, the impact tearing breath from his lungs. Darkness swallowed him whole. When he woke, his body ached. He lay in an underground passage, damp and narrow, the walls pressing close. It smelled of rot and earth. He forced himself upright, wincing at the pain in his leg. His flashlight flickered weakly, illuminating stone steps ahead. Cursing under his breath, Dakota limped toward them. His thoughts whirled. How unlucky can one person be? Maybe he was cursed. Maybe the moment he crossed that gate, the mansion had claimed him. At the top of the stairs, he pushed open a door. The hall beyond was filled with figures. Transparent, drifting aimlessly, their faces blank. They wandered without purpose, forever lost. Dakota's chest tightened, his gaze fell behind him and froze. There, lying in the dirt of the tunnel, was his body. Motionless, his own lifeless eyes stared back at him. "No," Dakota whispered. His hand trembled to his face. He slapped his cheek once, twice. No sting, no pain, nothing. The truth sank like a blade. The fall had killed him. His neck must have snapped. He was already dead. Tears pricked his eyes, though they refused to fall. He staggered into the hall, whispering to the others, begging them to notice him. But the ghosts ignored him, each trapped in their own endless loop. Even the children he'd seen before flitted past him, replaying their last moments over and over. He was just one more. One more spirit claimed by this cursed house. Yet something darker stirred behind him. Over the jagged hole where he had fallen, a shadow gathered. A thick, writhing wisp of black, coiling like smoke but heavier, hungrier. It seeped downward, inching toward his body. Dakota felt the chill of dread as he realized there was still a pulse. His spirit had been torn free, but his body wasn't gone, and something else wanted it. The wisp laughed, a sound deep, guttural, cruel. It poured into his vacant flesh, filling it like ink into water. The corpse twitched, then sat upright, unnaturally smooth. Bones that had once been broken now flexed with ease, fingers clenched, testing strength. Dakota screamed, though no sound left his mouth. He clawed at the air, powerless, as his own body was stolen from him. The thing inside looked down at its new vessel. A smile, Dakota's smile, twisted, spread across its lips. It straightened, its eyes glinting with malice. "This will do," it whispered, though no breath carried the words. And then it began to climb. The stairs groaned under the weight of Dakota's stolen body as the thing inside him climbed higher. Its movements were deliberate, too deliberate, like a puppet mastering its strings. Each step echoed in the hollow house, the sound a cruel mockery of life. Dakota's spirit followed helplessly, drifting behind like a shadow shackled to its master. He felt hollowed out, a ghost in truth now, yet bound to watch his own flesh move without him. His stomach churned, though his body could no longer retch. "That's mine. That's supposed to be me." The wisp had rooted itself deep, claiming what had been his vessel with grotesque ease. It flexed Dakota's fingers, touched Dakota's face, smirked with Dakota's lips, every gesture a violation. The other spirits of the mansion stirred uneasily as the thing passed them. They recoiled, drifting away, their blank expressions flickering with flashes of recognition. Fear. Dakota noticed it too. Whatever had taken him was not new to this house. It was something the ghosts had seen before long ago, something they remembered. The possessed body walked toward the front door. Chains rattled where none had been, locking it shut with an invisible hand. The thing chuckled, amused. Still stubborn, it murmured in a voice that wasn't his, but crawled from Dakota's throat. Dakota's spirit hovered near, desperate. "Stop! That's not yours!" His voice didn't reach, swallowed by the heavy air. Not even the other dead acknowledged him. He was nothing more than another echo, powerless against the weight of centuries. The creature in his skin strolled casually down the hall, pausing by a cracked mirror. Dakota flinched as it leaned forward, studying the reflection. His own eyes stared back, but not his. There was a depthless blackness within them, as if the wisp still swirled behind the glass. The grin it pulled stretched too wide, his lips trembling at the edges, his teeth bared like an animal. This face, this youth, perfect, it purred. The last one wore out too quickly, but you, oh, you're fresh, strong, not broken yet. Dakota's soul reeled, horror flooding him. Last one? How many others had walked these halls? How many had this thing hollowed out and puppeted until nothing remained? The thought twisted his gut. Every ghost he'd seen wandering, had they too been emptied, tossed aside once their bodies were used up? He tried to block the thought, but the truth pressed in. The laughter of the children had not just been grief. It had been warning. And now he was bound to the same fate. The house whispered. Not with words, but with a pressure in the air, like unseen eyes crowding the corners. The ghosts shuffled, restless, as the thing began to move again. Down the corridor, a door creaked open on its own. The wisp-controlled Dakota tilted his head and followed the summons. Inside, the grand ballroom stretched, dust caked on chandeliers, floorboards warped, but tonight, it wasn't empty. Figures swayed, translucent, caught in a dance they could never finish. The party that had ended in death replayed itself, flickering like film run too many times. Parents sipped poisoned wine, children laughed before collapsing in spasms. Screams rippled, fading to silence, only to start again. The possessed body stepped into the scene. The spectral dancers froze. Their eyes turned as one toward Dakota. The thing inside him raised a hand in greeting. "Did you miss me?" The ballroom quaked. The children wailed, their hollow screams cutting through Dakota's soul. He clutched his ears, though it made no difference. The wisp thrived on their anguish, its smile widening, feeding on their endless cycle of pain. Dakota screamed over them, "Stop! Leave them alone!" But his words were drowned in the cacophony. The ghosts surged, surrounding his stolen body, but they couldn't touch it. They flickered and passed through him like smoke through stone. Each failed attempt only delighted the wisp more. "You are all mine," it declared. "Your laughter, your fear, your rage, it all belongs to me. And now, so does this boy." Dakota's spirit crumpled, hopelessness sinking its claws in. But as the laughter of the children spiraled around him, he realized something. The ghosts were not powerless. They had brought him to the preserved room. They had shown him the truth of their deaths. They had chosen him. Why? Because he was still tied to his body. Because his soul was still here. Maybe, just maybe, he could fight. He focused on the figure before him, his own face, twisted by the intruder. Rage burned in his hollow chest. He thought of his life, his friends, even the classmates who mocked him. He thought of mornings heavy with sunlight, of his mother's laugh echoing from the kitchen. He thought of everything this thing wanted to erase. "No," Dakota whispered, his voice trembling but firmer. "You don't get to have me." For the first time, the wisp hesitated. Its grin faltered. Dakota lunged. His spirit crashed into his own stolen body, colliding with the shadow inside. The world split, shattering into darkness and screaming light. He was inside himself again, but not alone. The wisp writhed, a storm of shadows clawing at his mind, filling his thoughts with venom. "You are weak. You are nothing. Give me the reins, boy." "No," Dakota shouted, his fists clenched, real, solid. Pain seared through his skull as the entity slammed against his will, trying to tear him apart. Images flooded his head, every victim, every body it had ever stolen, every scream it had silenced. He felt himself slipping. Then, hands, small, cold, ghostly hands. The children. They surrounded him, their eyes burning with something more than sorrow now, hope. They reached toward him, pressing spectral palms against his shoulders, his back, his chest. Their whispers filled him. "Fight! Fight! Don't let it win." Dakota's heart thundered. His body shook. With a scream that tore from the depths of his soul, he shoved back. The wisp shrieked, its laughter turning to a howl of rage. It clawed at him, but the children pulled with him, dragging the shadow out. Inch by inch, it unraveled, black smoke spilling from his mouth, his eyes, his skin. The house trembled as the wisp was torn free, twisting violently in the air. Its shape flickered, no longer formless, but a gaunt figure, hollow-eyed, its grin cracked wide with fury. It shrieked and hurled itself toward Dakota, but the children stood in its way. They screamed as one, a sound not of fear but defiance. Their voices struck the wisp like fire, burning it, unraveling it into threads of ash. The thing thrashed, collapsing in on itself until nothing remained but dust, scattered into the air. Silence fell. Dakota gasped, clutching his chest. His legs buckled, but the children steadied him. Their faces softened, their laughter no longer cruel but gentle, like wind chimes. One by one, they faded, their chains broken. The mansion grew still. For the first time in decades, it felt empty. Dakota stumbled toward the front door. This time, the chains were gone. He pushed, and the wood gave way. Cold night air rushed in, filling his lungs. The sky was breaking with dawn, light brushing the horizon. He looked back once. The house loomed, silent, its windows blank. It wasn't victory, not truly. He could never forget the weight of that shadow inside him, the way it laughed through his mouth. He knew it might not be gone forever. Darkness like that had a way of lingering. But the children were free, and he was alive. He stepped onto the overgrown path, each breath tasting sweeter than the last. His hands shook, his legs weak, but he moved forward. He would never again mistake fear for fun, never again mock the power of places that reeked of sorrow. Behind him, the mansion stood, patient and watchful. Somewhere deep in its walls, something whispered, faint as a sigh. Dakota quickened his pace. The sun rose, but shadows, he knew now, never truly died.